And طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Today, my dear brothers and sisters listening via this live telelink and those who inshallah will listen to the recording as well, I'm going to read out and go through an article done by our Shaykh Muhammad Al-Anjaree Hafidhahullah entitled ماذا صنعت لأمك? What have you done or what did you do for your mother? And it's a lovely article, this article written by our Shaykh Muhammad Al-Anjaree Hafidhahullah. The Shaykh had written this article way back in 1998 and published it in one of the local newspapers in Kuwait, in Jaridat al-Qabas, the Qabas newspaper. And it has in it a really good reminder for those of us whose mothers are still with us, and for those of us whose mothers are probably not with us, but as a reminder of the tremendous status of our mothers in Islam and the reminders as well for us and my dear brothers and sisters in what you need to do in terms of being dutiful for your mother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our Shaykh began by mentioning the title, of course, what did you do for your mother? And the Shaykh said, Hafidhahullah, isn't it enough of a sin? Isn't it enough of a sin and regret for a person to waste the opportunity of his mother's life without being dutiful to her and doing good for her, especially when your mother is at an advanced age, especially when your mother is old? And the Sheikh said, oh, who you read my article, oh, who reads my article, remember that your mother's life is limited and you do not know when it will end. So have you taken the opportunity of your life to be dutiful to her and to do good to her? And look at the words of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, these words about who is the most deserving of us being dutiful to in this world. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the most deserving in birr of people is your mother, then your mother, then your mother. Collected by Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih. And he sallallahu alayhi wasallam also said, may the nose of a man, meaning be rubbed in dust, who has both of his parents or one of them and does not enter paradise with them, meaning by way of being dutiful to them. Rather, look at the incident that happened in the life of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Shaykh Al-Anjaree, he said, and bite your finger in regret if you are amongst those negligent people. A man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanting to fight alongside with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. An amazing opportunity. What an opportunity. But he did so without the consent of his parents. So he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about that. So our Shaykh Muhammad Al-Anjaree said, so the one who does not speak from his desires, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from one of the attributes of Muhammad is that ma yantiqu anil hawa. He doesn't speak from his desires, as Allah mentions in the Quran. Told this companion, go back and go to them. Rather, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not satisfied with that and said, and make them laugh as you made them cry. So this companion went out wanting good for himself and his family. And Shaykh Al-Anjaree said, keep in mind that the shaheed, the one who dies fi sabilillah in Islam, has the right to intercede for his family on Yawm al-Qiyamah, but the parents' satisfaction was greater. So Shaykh Al-Anjaree Hafidhahullah, he said, oh, you who neglected your mother's rights, where are you regarding these texts and the proofs? Compare yourself with these texts and proofs. If you are the one who says about your mother that she made a mistake and she transgressed and that she went too far and that she distanced herself, then know that you are the one who is wrong according to the Sharia, and this is nothing but from the evils of your soul and from the shaitan. So look at the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means if they endeavor to make you associate with me, with Allah, that which you have no knowledge, do not obey them, but accompany them in this world with appropriate kindness. So Shaykh said, Is there any clarification after this verse? Look at the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they endeavor to make you associate with me that which you have no knowledge, do not obey them, but accompany them in this world with appropriate kindness. صاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا. Accompany them in this world with appropriate kindness. That is, if your parents command you to disbelieve your Lord or your Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not obey them. But your Lord has stipulated that you accompany them in kindness and treat them well, even if they are enemies of Allah and His Messenger. Is this matter and the situation greater than that? Remember the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your Lord has decreed that you do not worship except Him. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And to your parents with good treatment. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا. And if one or both of them attain old age while they are with you, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. And do not say to them even uff, a word out of disrespect. وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And do not repel them, but address them with a generous word. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الظُّلِّ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ. And lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy, and say, قُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And say, my Lord, have mercy upon them as they brought me up when I was small. So Shaykh Al-Anjaree, Hafidhahullah, he said, it is forbidden for you to say uff. So fear Allah in yourself. It's forbidden even to say uff. So fear Allah in yourself. And among the means of being dutiful to your mother is to constantly communicate with her and meet her needs and listen to her words, even if her words do not agree with your nature and mood. But be a listening ear to her, because she will be happy with that. Help her to do good and remind her of Allah without it being boring. And pay attention to this. Shaykh Al-Anjaree, Hafidhahullah, said, remind her of Allah without it being boring or going beyond the limits of the guidance of the chosen one, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said about our noble messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he would alternate between admonitions for his Sahaba, for his companions, for fear of them becoming bored. And you should give your mother many gifts, for gift pleases the soul and makes the heart happy. And this is what we look from the, as Shaykh Al-Anjaree said, min fihi Muhammad, meaning from the mouth, meaning the statements of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he said, give gifts to one another and you will love one another, in meaning Al-Hadith. So if your family, and the Shaykh gives a scenario now, if your family is at odds with your mother, for example, then know that oppression is forbidden for your family. You're not allowed to oppress your family in this. And you must be steadfast and approach them as much as you can, and you're able to, with good. But the limit that you have is that you have no right to go beyond, is that you speak harshly to your mother. That is, you still speak to your mother in a soft way. You do not raise your voice and you oppress her. And oppression has many forms. Shaykh has just given a few examples. You must be just with your family without oppressing your mother. And if your mother transgresses, then you do not have the right to transgress against her on your part, because it is the work of the shaitan, and that is his evil. So Shaykh Al-Anjaree, Hafidhahullah, he said, take advantage of her life and bring her into the abode of happiness with kindness and good company, and help her to fulfill her needs. Take on the task of even making a pretense of righteousness, even if you have to. It's difficult on you to be righteous to your mother. Take on this pretense of being righteousness to your mother. Do it. And if patience is not in your nature, then be patient in order to be righteous to her. Basically, do it, even if it's not within you. Try it, do it, so that you may please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here is a story, as Shaykh Al-Anjaree, Hafidhahullah, he finishes off this lovely article by mentioning, he says, here is a story which is a witness to the guidance of the righteous in taking the trouble to be dutiful to parents. That is, strive hard to be dutiful to your parents. And the Shaykh said, I mean the story of Ashab al-Kahf, from one of the men of the cave, who brought milk while his parents were asleep. And he stood by the head, waiting until they woke up. And this was whilst his children needed to drink. but he held back until his parents woke up and they drank until they were satisfied. Then he gave what was left to his children and his family. And this action pleased Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and brought him closer to him, brought him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Shaykh Al-Anjaree, Hafidhahullah, he mentioned that for a few lines of Arabic poetry, which means what dutifulness, what an action of dutifulness, and what a deed. And this is how our Shaykh Hafidhahullah finishes off this lovely article entitled, What Did You Do for Your Mother? It's a lovely reminder for us, my dear brothers, from who we've got our mothers with us, that you strive, that Allah gives us tawfiq in striving to be dutiful to our mothers, um, acting upon um, the advices that the Shaykh has given. And other than that, buying gifts for her, listening to her, not making it boring for her, doing whatever you can to fulfill her needs. And we'll finish with that بإذن الله تعالى. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Oh, I chose this because it's one of those articles which our Shaykh has written, Hafidhahullah, and it's a lovely reminder. And bi'idhnillah, I'll go through my notes and I'll post it out for the brothers as a PDF file for reference as well. And inshallah, hopefully, we'll have Shaykh Al-Anjaree join us next week, inshallah, if he can. And maybe I'll request from the Shaykh to give us further more advices around this topic. And if the brothers have any questions as well, or you'd like any more clarification, we can ask the Shaykh to do that for us in the next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care, brothers. Thank you.